Mr. Kychelhahn, good morning.
Good morning, and before you start the clock, just a couple of administrative things.
I can do them for you.
There's a copy of the smart code for each of you there that I'd like you to have with you as I present. Secondly, I was asked to give this. This is some 350, I believe, petitions that a group gave to me. I didn't get them, okay, to hand to you before I start talking. And I think it was covered in just a matter of a few days.
Thank you. Please begin.
Chairman Hurd, Commissioners, first of all, this is democracy, and sometimes it's messy, but it's awful beautiful. And I just appreciate everybody being here, and I hope you do too. Secondly, let's do this with a smile. We're all on the same team. We're all trying to make Martin County a better place. All right, and with that, let me get into it. My name is Jerry Kychelhahn. I live in Palm City, Martin County, Florida, and it's a great place to live. A lot of that is due to you, your actions, and the previous commissioners who've had the foresight to move 95 way outside of town. I've lived all over the world. I started grade school in France, graduated in Turkey, lived all over the United States. I have an engineering degree from the Citadel and a Master of Science degree from the Colorado School of Mines. All of this is just telling you I try to know what I'm talking about. Since that time, I was in the Army 9 years as an artillery officer, airborne and ranger, proud of it. And after that, moved into the civilian life, where I've been involved in operations, site planning, development. I've worked with planning commissions throughout the country, even served on one in Colorado. Why am I here? I'm here to paint a picture. All right. The picture is of the results of the research that I've done into the South Florida Regional Partnership, as evidenced by the 750 plan and the other pertinent factors. I'm not a member of the American Coalition for Property Rights. I've spoken with them, just like I've spoken to members of the 750 team, including executive committee. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I don't want to talk about Agenda 21. I don't want to talk about the UN. I don't want to talk about trains to nowhere. I want to talk about the facts and what's in front of us, particularly as it pertains to us here in Martin County, and we all live here. First, from a government planning standpoint, we all understand government planning is necessary. And government planning provides for the future, for equitable use of resources. It mitigates externalities. In other words, gets rid of bad things that happen when development occurs, and that happens. It plans for a productive and a non-destructive positive future. It allows the private sector to respond to market forces. It sets the framework. It does not run the private sector normally. I think we can all come to agreement that bad things happen if government is too small or government is too weak. Bad things happen if government is too big or too powerful. But bad things also happen when government ignores market realities or government ignores societal realities. And we see the results of that often. I looked first at the Martin County Comprehensive Plan. I've worked all over the state. I've looked at a lot of comprehensive plans. I've sat before a lot of county commissioners. The Martin County Plan is an excellent plan. Congratulations to your growth management staff and to yourselves. It's got appropriate government oversight, but it remains owner, resident, developer-centric, meaning they know, they have clear definitions of tasks, responsibilities, what needs to be done, so that owners and developers can respond to the market needs within the parameters that are set. Okay, the county works with the other agencies to regulate for externalities. We already have a myriad of agencies at the state and national level that takes care of the air, takes care of the water, looks over transportation. It allows the people with skin in the game who will make the best decisions because it's their money to do what they need to. And I thank you for a great plan and a great county. But then I looked at the 750 plan. The 750 plan clearly, from what's there, is government-centric. It's top-down, it's over-directive in what it says, and yet there's still no plan. There's a plan to do a plan, but there's no specifics. There's a wish list with no concern for market realities. And it uses incentives to affect the market. If the market doesn't support what's going on, it will not be sustainable, regardless of HUD's definition. Finally, the idea that government can plan 50 years into the future is pure silliness in my eyes. 37 years ago, the first commercial microcomputer was introduced in the marketplace. Nobody could have envisioned what's happened in the last 37 years, and change is happening faster every year. We're a member of the partnership and involved in this by means of signing an agreement. The agreement is rather innocuous with a couple comments. The purpose of it is to formalize the roles and the commitments of the consortium participants, which is us. The word commit and its derivatives appear some 15 times in that document. That's not saying it's bad. That's just telling you it's there. There is one line that causes concern among everybody, and that is that termination of member status shall not relieve a member of any responsibilities or liabilities already incurred. Now, nobody agrees, and nobody's saying that we've incurred any responsibilities or any liabilities as of this moment. Another thing, it shows some degree of control and says we may be allowed to have funds if those funds also further the regional priorities. I didn't know we were entering into a control agreement. We also signed a Memorandum of Understanding, a rather innocuous document that basically I think was required for the grant to say that we were committed to the livability principles, which are 7 principles elucidated by HUD, passed down through the 750 organization. I have a few concerns, as do most people, with the Memorandum of Understanding. We on this chart are a member of the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. Along with the South Florida Regional Planning Council, we're supposed to oversee the activities, set the direction for what's going on. We do that through the Executive Committee. I thought at first the Executive Committee was the power behind the throne and the driving force. As it turns out, and Mr. Fielding might object, the Executive Committee, having now 34 members, is inadequate to provide direction, has never reached a consensus, nor held a vote. What does that mean? That means the project management team is running the show. The project management team is paid consultants with a vested interest in their own pocketbooks. Another type of government failure can easily occur when there's a lack of transparency or a lack of forthrightness, leading people to get the wrong conclusions. I looked at the 750 plan, and that is what brought this question up. Throughout it, there's a strange set of specific outcomes, but there's no plan. There's no way to achieve cost data. There seem to be preordained rules that have nothing to do with Martin County. There's visualizations and items that just don't seem real. As an example, the second arrow up on the left calls for a 20% increase in multifamily homes. That's not a 20% increase. That is a 20% increase in market share. We're currently throughout the region at a 15% market share. Their plan says they're going to a 35% increase in market share. To give you an idea of that impact, if Martin County increased its population by 20%, every new residence would have to be a multifamily home. And I'll show you examples of those as we go. It really got crazy when I saw that, according to their plan, that isn't a plan, we were going to increase the number of artists in the workplace by 1.54%. All right, please laugh, okay, because it is silly. And we were going to reduce the obesity rate by 11.5%. I mean, this is some serious planning, and I've sat on planning commissions. Finally, and this was called to my attention, there's a call that $2.3 billion is going to be saved on new roads, but there's no cost data to support that. This is the matrix of all that was just discussed, but it also includes saving farmland. It says that we are going to save 190 square miles of farmland by adopting their plan, by living the way they want us to. If we take the region, not counting Monroe County, from South Miami to Indian River County, we're talking 150 miles. What that means, over a 50-year period, by adopting their plan and living as they would have us live, we would save 1.3 miles of westward expansion. That's rounding error. If you've read the plan, I hope that each of you have read the plan. It's a 298-page document. It's currently in draft form, but due to be approved this month. You might have recognized these principles: walkability, connectivity, mixed use and diversity, mixed housing, quality architecture and urban design, increased density, sustainability. Well, they're all in the plan. But these are actually the principles that come from the Congress for New Urbanism. At this point, because I was doing research, learning like you, I was doing research, and it seemed that maybe the 750 plan was a little more than warmed over New Urbanism. So I looked into our worker bees down there at the 750 group. Here's the list of the planning consultants: Dover, Cole and Partners, aligned and part of the Congress for New Urbanism; DPZ, Dwani, a co-founder of the Congress for New Urbanism; Criterion, Spakowski, Hall, and Gorman, all aligned with Congress for New Urbanism. Only Burchell down there is Center for Urban Policy Research, another New Urbanism think tank. Luckily, Burchell made the correct statement when he said, increased density of living necessarily means reduced quality of life. I looked at the benefactors, and this struck me. These are people that donate to the Congress for New Urbanism. At the champion level, we find, obviously, Dover, Cole & Partners, and DPZ. But what are we doing at the leader level, contributing? Okay, the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, the only true government agency contributing $1,000 to the Congress for New Urbanism. Further, and this is not a slam on anybody, this is just fact, Michael Bush is the co-founder of the Congress for New Urbanism Florida, LLC, a Florida corporation. Follow the money. On the Congress for New Urbanism website, it states, the plan is called 750 and can be largely accredited to the Congress for New Urbanism. HUD often states on their websites their desire for new urban communities. Is that what we want? Let's take a look and see as we go down the road. First, new urbanism is not new. It's a very questionable set of principles. Principles that are prepared by planning elitists that believe that they know best how to tell everybody how to live, and only they know best. They're principles that are questionable regarding even the sustainability items that they use. Do they save fuel? The answer apparently seems to be no. Do they reduce emissions? No, and they factually probably increase emissions. Does it provide social equity? This is a resounding no. In every newer urbanist community, moderate to poor income people have had to move away. It is an expensive venture. Housing is not cheap in these communities. These are principles that create the quality of life of the residents for some set of undefined and unmeasurable variants that the planning elitists believe will save us from ourselves. Luckily, because we know now, and there is no question following the trail, that we're talking about new urbanism. We have some local examples. Let's look at City Place. Crime is rampant, parking scarce. Valley parking is required for the higher-end residents, the rest park in parking structures. But even more so, we have Abacoa, widely acclaimed as such a new urbanism success. The city center continues to be a problem. Residents continue to complain about the noise from the bars and urine in the streets. I didn't believe it. I went and looked. I encourage you to. Be prepared for what you're going to find. The walkable movie theater right outside City Center has long since been torn down, okay, and closed. Why? No business. Most of us live closer to a Publix here in Stewart and Palm City than do Abacoa residents from theirs at Military Trail. Pollution is higher in the high-density areas than in most of Martin County. The cost of housing makes it unaffordable to most moderate and low-income people. If I wanted to live in Abacoa, I would have bought there. If you wanted to live in Abacoa, you could have bought there. If we keep going, you will. New urbanism comes from an old, early 1900s vision that seems regressive and questionably sustainable. These new urban planning elites almost treat it as a religion and fail to look at facts. Let's look at Abacoa. This is Martin County of the future. While this is 5 stories, I know we're limited to 4, but this is what you read when you read through the 298-page document. Covered walkways, narrow streets, street parking, residents above shops. As you walk to your left, you come down to the vaunted city center, the herb of all good new urbanist people. This is looking up the main street, and you see the traditional architecture. Lots of columns, lots of porches. You see the trees, the narrow streets, the street side parking. What they don't tell you is on the left side, as you're looking at the picture, the first 3 bays are bars. Then there's nothing for a lot of bays. They're empty. And then you come to 2 more bars. Across the street, and there you're at Rooney's, a restaurant with a bar. On the right side, there's 2 bars and a restaurant. If you walk halfway down the block, you finally find a retail shop. It's a cigar store. What is else there? What happened? This is the retail spaces. They're all empty. This is new urbanism. New urbanism ideals are given way to market realities. That's what I said. To be sustainable, you have to believe in the market. This is the backside of those same apartments. In a V, have to keep the lights down, otherwise the light goes in the apartments. Low light, parking areas, crime havens. But most people can't park there. There's not enough parking. So they go to the parking garage. Think of the slasher, okay? No, I'm just kidding. But going on from there, nobody was smiling. I thought to throw it in. But going on from there, if you drive to the grocery store and you park in a parking garage and you walk to the elevator and go up to your house, are you going to buy more groceries or less when you go to the grocery store? You're going to buy less. If you buy less, are you going to make less trips? Or are you going to make more? You're going to make more trips. I question even their idea that they're going to save trips, because nobody walks in Abacoa. Outside of the city center, we run into the traditional, what they call their multifamily housing. Note, columns and porches. Everything looks fine, looks real pretty. Narrow streets, front side parking, but not if you live there. You park in the back. This kind of looks like Martin County low-income housing. I lived in things that look like this in Los Angeles. This is the vision. This is their vision for Martin County. This is their infill and redevelopment, and I'll get to that in a moment. Note the pickup truck on the left, and behind it in the garage is a car. If the car has to get out, the pickup truck has to move. It sits idling. It waits while the car pulls out, the pickup truck backs in. More pollution or less. Thousands of times a day. This is repeated because they believe in backside parking alleys. Note that the alley is pavement, not grass. When I pull out of my driveway, I've got a big tree. It probably eats all of the CO2 from my car. It doesn't happen in Abacoa. Holcomb did a study in 2004 on new urbanism. And he says basically new urbanism works contrary to market forces. Of course it does. We're getting money to plan for new urbanism, and there will be grants to pay for new urbanism so that we can live in what you've just seen. Pollution. It was decided pollution is higher. The higher the density, the higher the pollution. Why? There's more paving, less green space. More automobile idling, less efficiencies. Cars are least efficient, most polluting when driving slow and when idling. And yet every street in Abacoa is narrow. Why? To save space, to save that 1.3 miles over 50 years. There's more traffic congestion, not less. It's government mandated, he came up with. Of course it is. It is not market satisfying. New urbanism completely ignores the fact that the model that they're basing it on was the 1920s and 1930s when there were no cars. Stores were necessarily smaller because it was a smaller market. So where are we? Martin County is signatory to an agreement and to a memorandum that commits the county to faithfully implementing new urbanism. After 3 years and $4.2 million, the only thing that's been developed by the partnership, i.e., the new urbanism consultants, is a 298-page sales brochure for new urbanism. The partnerships creates another layer of government that conflicts with, doesn't support, and does little if anything to enhance the agencies that we already work with to take care of the environment, the water supply and transportation. We have DEP. We have the Water Management District. We have the Corps of Engineers. We have DOT, and on and on and on, that watch over saltwater intrusion, that watch over emissions that might control climate change, might cause climate change. This does nothing. The partnership creates a pipeline for the federal government to directly impose their vision of planning on Martin County, and numerous documents from HUD push new urbanism. If we don't get out now, there's every possibility that we might be subject to penalties in the future as implementation begins. How does this happen? Do you think it can wait? No, because already prepared and sitting in the wings is what I gave to you right now, the Smart Code, version 9.2. If you look, and I've got a paperclip there, you can turn to page SC2, and you'll see a place where it says community, comma, state. Fill in Martin County, Florida. You've got a code. 2 other places on that front page it says this code supersedes your existing codes. All right. Where did this code come from? This is made for infill, redevelopment, new development, whatever you want. Thank you. Thank you. Where did this code from? Developed by DPZ, Dwani. Follow the money. I believe it can be said we presently have no commitment or liability already incurred, but the draft plan will soon be approved. When it's approved, we're signatory, like it or not. It can be argued that being a member when it's accepted means that we have a legal responsibility to enforce the plan, i.e. termination would incur a deficiency. I love that word. I think that's a planning word. We see it all the time. It's also clear that new urbanism planning elites believe that the livability principles, the vision and the blueprint can only be met by adopting what is called the Smart Code. If you read that code, you will see Abacoa throughout. We could be required to modify the Martin County Code to fit the Smart Code or to adopt it as an amendment. Simply, why put Martin County at risk by remaining in this coalition when there is no compelling reason to do so? Summary, there's no plan, though we now know what the plan entails. I've just told you. Martin County is not an urban setting. I can see new urbanism being put into cities when they're pulling out ghettos and putting in new things. I can see that. It's marginal at this there, but every attempt at putting it in Greenfield, to putting it in rural environments such as Martin County has been absolute failures, as is Abacoa. We currently have the ability to plan our own future, to fit our needs, an ability that will not exist if we continue down the road of 750. There's no advantage to remaining in the partnership, though all of us recognize the need to talk to the other counties and coordinate with them through either the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council or another agency, whatever we want to do there. Passing a resolution to end the memorandum, to undo the agreement, to resign as a member of the partnership and the Grant Consortium is not only the logical thing to do, it's the necessary step. And we need to do it now. Now, there is one item that was put in the agenda item by the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, and that said the same thing that your planning director said, and I take exception. It talks about February. There is no termination date on the memorandum or the agreement. The end. Please get us out now before it's too late.